Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlicker, shills, death slaves, serfs, peasants, vassals, minions, meat sack, poor people. I'm Useful Idiot. Welcome. And I want to talk about the fact that Bidenomics really worked the last 4 years. And a good example of that is there's been a 33% increase in homelessness in the last 4 years. Um, it was 13% before Biden took office. And we've also had a 13% increase in poverty and the homeless. So 40% has been risen in first-time homeless, and a lot of families and vets, and 150,000 kids. And the worst states include mine, Washington State, but also New York, Florida, and Massachusetts. And so let's give another round of applause for all the historic achievements of President Biden and his successful economic miracle over the last 4 years. And no one should be surprised by this. The reckless spending by the Biden administration and the massive increase in inflation has hit every single American hard. And of course, as usual, the lower levels of society and the lower levels of the economy and those who are already poor get hit the hardest. And these increases hit people where they really live. And it's no surprise that housing is not included in the calculation of inflation because of its volatility, but the staggering rise in the housing prices over the last 4 years and the staggering rise of rents. No wonder we have a 33% increase in the homeless over the last 4 years. I'm sorry. It's so sad. This level of society that has been struggling already gets hit with this massive inflation and finds it more and more difficult to find a place to live and to feed themselves. Talk about hitting people where they live. And we have all these governments, local governments, and the federal government talk about building housing and affordable housing. And the predominant amount of housing, new housing being built in the United States, affordable housing has been done on a token level. And most of the new housing is basically luxury condos. And in Washington State, we see that a lot. A very small amount of affordable housing is created. And also the idea of what they consider affordable is living in a dream world. When you have one bedroom and studio apartments renting here in Seattle for $2,000, imagine somebody on a fixed income who 4 years ago could barely afford to live as it was. And that goes along with food stamps as well. Food stamps have been at the same level for decades, and yet we have an inflationary environment now, and the amount of food stamps they get is not reflected in the amount of money they actually get for food. So I think the maximum amount is $272 for food stamps. The calculations are that most American families spend about $300 a week on groceries now. So imagine somebody on a fixed income that has to spend $2,000 a month in rent, and then basically has enough money for food, $300 that's supposed to last them an entire month. And so it's just a really tragic situation. The most prosperous country in the world, and the people that are doing well are continue to do better and are doing extremely well. And they're feeling the brunt somewhat of inflation, but they can absorb it easily. But the vast majority of the people living at the lower echelons of the economy, this is just ferocious and tragic. And there's no end to it. Inflation continues and should be rising further even during the Trump administration with his spending plans. And even with all the pressures on the real estate market, housing prices continue to go up. And even with the higher interest rates, housing continues to skyrocket. And And then nobody wants to really talk about the real villains. They don't want to talk about the fact that the hedge funds are out there buying up huge swaths of real estate across America and driving up prices. They don't want to talk about renting uh, clearinghouses and brokers who use algorithms to approximate what the market is and figure out what the local market is, and have landlords keep raising rents based on algorithms telling them what the market is. And so it's just a tragic situation. But thank you, Joe Biden. 33% increase in the homeless in a mere 4 years, and a 13% increase in poverty. And it's just hard to imagine any of this being turned around. And I don't think any of Trump's solutions are really going to address the problems at the core of why more and more people in this country are going to end up homeless and hungry and eventually dead. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too?